I didn't do that, but I will tell you, with our country, and I think everybody in this audience, these are great manufacturers, great workers in our audience too. They brought a lot of their workers here. If you're not happy here, then you can leave. As far as I'm concerned, if you hate our country, if you're not happy here, you can leave. And that's what I say all the time. That's what I said in a tweet, which I guess some people think is controversial. A lot of people love it, by the way.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to take a look at the latest new Q posts. Plus, we're going to take a look at the news of what's coming out, including this story, which we knew a long time ago, as Q had pointed out to us, the connection that Prince Andrew had between everything that we're covering with Epstein and NXIVM and the rest. So we're going to take a look at the story that's breaking about him, plus a whole lot more. You guys are going to want to stick around and check this out. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I always like to begin by saying thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, please come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and don't forget to hit the like button if you guys like this content and would like to see me make more. So, today we're going to pick up with the latest of the Q posts, and there's only a couple because they're basically the remnants that came after the last video I made where we left off at Q post 3433, and today we're going to pick up at Q post 3434. Plus, we're going to look at a bunch of different news stories that are coming out. We're going to look at this breaking news story about Prince Andrew's connection to this woman, Virginia Roberts. The fact that Q told us about the connection between Prince Andrew and Ghislaine Maxwell, who is Jeffrey Epstein's right-hand woman, if you will, as far as procuring individuals and as allegedly. But we're going to get into that story. Plus, as you guys saw at the beginning of this, we showed you a little clip from President Trump's press conference where he basically just annihilates the extreme leftist faction of the Democrat Party, headed by these four women who seem to really, really loathe and detest our country, its founding principles, and they seem to prefer other things which are really dangerous, in my opinion, as far as extremism goes. So we're going to watch that full clip at the end of this. Basically, we're going to go through the latest Q posts, we're going to go through the news, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about, then we're going to watch that video at the end. So that's, if you guys want to stick around to see that full clip, you need to see it. It is electrifying. President Trump was on fire, and he was on point, and he was telling the truth, in my opinion. About everything, about the way that these people hate our country and so on. You guys got to watch this clip at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. Now, before we get started, I always encourage everyone to come back here, watch these last videos, share them on your social media. Look, we've already talked about what happens at YouTube. I'm seeing it more and more, especially now that Q's come back. It was starting to get a little bit better as Q stopped posting, and now, as soon as Q comes back, I could see the manipulation in the algorithms, or what looks like manipulation in the algorithms, because you can't be sure, right? Because there's no way to fact check this. There's no transparency really, and all we have is like videos from Project Veritas showing us these big executives saying how they're going to game the system against us, which to me is like, all right, for anybody out there watching, whether you're on the left or right, you can see there's obviously a bias against conservatives, and I would argue an even stronger bias against conservative Christians like myself, which is why I've always felt since day one that well, not really since day one. It was actually not as bad as when I first started, but it's gotten so bad now that it's a pronounced, in my opinion, type of discrimination, and you guys got to come here and share these videos. Share them. Go down at the bottom of this video, there's a share button. You can share it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever else they have. You can share it on any other platforms you have, Gab, I don't know, whatever. But this is automatically backed up on BitChute, so you guys can find me over on BitChute. There is a channel there that's got an automatic backup, but you guys sharing the videos makes a big difference. So I hate to do the whole spiel there, but I had to get it out of the way. Also, there's this What is QAnon the Great Awakening video. If you're not aware of QAnon the Great Awakening, I would highly suggest you watch that. Share that on your social media. It'll give you all the information you need. So let's just get started, because there's only 2 posts here, so it's going to be pretty quick. We're going to go through these, like I said, then some of the news, then we're going to watch President Trump's remarks. It's going to be pretty epic. First of all, Q says a week to remember. Well, the first thing that Anon's picked up on was this. Right after that post, we had this from the U.S. Marines, saying, let's stay on target till the end of this week. Monday motivation. So obviously this is them training. Obviously, you make of that what you will, right? It obviously, to me, means that we have some little, tongue-in-cheek things here and there that keep pointing us in the right directions, telling us that we're on track. And, we got a big week ahead, obviously, as things continue to drop. It gets bigger and bigger. And we're going to start with the Prince Andrew story. Before that, we're going to cover this one where Q says, Smollett, federal charges coming. Watch the news. These people are stupid. Q. Well, that's fascinating because we haven't really heard much about Jussie Smollett in a while. The last story I can find that really has any reference, any connection to what Q is saying here is this, though, which I found was fascinating. This is an article that was published on Fox News by Julius Young on July 4th, talking about how Jussie Smollett has basically filed to move his lawsuit, Chicago's lawsuit against him, to federal court, right? So this is the story that came out on July 4th. So this was about a week ago, a little more than a week ago, talking about how he's steadfast on clearing his name of the alleged of the allegations he staged an elaborate hate crime against himself and wants the lawsuit that the city of Chicago filed on him moved from state court to federal court. And then it says the motion filed Wednesday and released to the media by Smollett's representatives comes after the city sued the actor in April for the cost of investigating his allegations that he was a victim of a racist and anti-gay attack in downtown Chicago. And then it goes on to say prosecutors dismissed charges against Smollett related to making a false report. However, the police department and city officials maintained Smollett orchestrated the January incident, and they're trying to recoup $130,000 the city spent on police overtime. So that's the story. But what's fascinating about this story is it seems like what Q is suggesting is that he may very well get his wish that he'll be in federal court, but it probably won't be for the reasons that he wants to be in federal court. And what I mean by that is, obviously, what Jussie Smollett did was, pretty obvious to most people looking at it from the evidence that's shown, the story that was told. I've seen all the evidence, practically all the evidence and all of the tapes and all of the interviews that you could imagine about this case. And it just looks very bad for Jussie Smollett. Let's just say that. It looks like he did, in fact, pay the brothers to stage this hate crime, and that it was a part of a larger hoax that he was trying to pull off. Q has told us before that right in the aftermath of this, they were able to fast track a piece of legislation through Congress that was called an anti-lynching bill. And what that did was actually make it illegal to hang people. I mean, to put it, not have better terms, but it was called an anti-lynching bill, which to me, as Q alluded to back then, I mean, what's the punishment for treason, right? In some cases. This is really, this was all connected, and it's Chicago. It's all allegedly connected, I guess. Chicago, we have the aldermen there with their, incredibly scandalous lives that they live. I mean, just pick up any tabloid in Chicago, you're going to hear about some, corrupt official doing something. And then couple that with the fact that you have, people like Rahm Emanuel running the place, and it was Obama's little, where Obama was able to be politically grown in a petri dish there, if you will, of criminal activity. But look, that's beside the point. I'm getting onto an aside here. The point is that Q is telling us to look at Jussie Smollett, and he may end up in federal court because there was a case that was being investigated by the FBI, as I last heard of it, where it was a letter that had Jussie Smollett had reported a letter had been sent to him that had a hateful racist message inside with white powder. So I guess federal authorities started investigating that claim, and he could be brought to federal court for staging or faking that letter, because that is, I think, a felony, as I recall, if you stage or plan a fake terrorist hoax or attack or whatever. I believe that is a federal crime. So, and it has to do with mail tampering or something like that. But yeah, or mail fraud and other things. So there are federal crimes that he could be brought to court, brought under indictment for in federal court that could have nothing to do with him wanting to go to federal court to argue that this lawsuit is unconstitutional against him. Now, what I'm sure his lawyers want to argue is that in the Chicago court or in the federal court from Chicago is that it's unconstitutional for Jussie to be charged for a crime that he was cleared of, right? So they can't take his money, and that I guess would be their argument. But he may just end up in federal court for reasons that he may not really like a whole lot. So with that, that's pretty much the last one. It says, watch the news. These people are stupid, Q. So we'll have to watch the news and see what happens with that. Most things Q warns us about coming up in the news end up coming up in the news, right? So that's definitely something to remember. Here's something else to remember. Q told us, this is back in March of this year, 2019, and we've had Q posts from way before that of him with this woman, Virginia Roberts, who's now coming forward with allegations and accusations against Prince Andrew and his and Alan Dershowitz as well, but as well as Jeffrey Epstein and others. But this is something Q told us, that Prince Andrew is deeply connected. Now, who is Prince Andrew? Prince Andrew is obviously one of the royal family members from, obviously Great Britain, the UK. It is him who was, I think he was, at one point he was close to the next in line of succession, and now he's not, but he is a royal prince, right? And this article is coming out of the Mirror, but then there's multiple other outlets in the UK that are reporting this right now, talking about Prince Andrew's humiliation as quote-unquote sex slave files as of pedo pal to be released. So this is talking about Jeffrey Epstein. So what we're looking at here is this story. I'm going to read a little bit of it. It says, Prince Andrew faces further embarrassment after a judge ruled that documents relating to an alleged sex slave can be released. The U.S. Appeals Court has said that 2,000 pages of papers from a defamation suit by Virginia Griff, who claims that billionaire businessman Jeffrey Epstein used her as a sex slave, can be made public. And I'm thinking this Virginia Grief is the Virginia Roberts, changed her name possibly. But it says the court said the documents contain potentially damaging information about sexual abuse by, quote, prominent American politicians, powerful business executives, foreign presidents, a well-known prime minister, and other world leaders, unquote. In its 27-page ruling, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals ruled the public's right of access to court papers overrode the privacy concerns of individuals. Yeah, that's good. Thank God for the United States court system and the parts that are actually still working. It says the records will not be made public immediately, as mystery litigants have about 2 weeks to file a request for all Second Circuit judges to consider their arguments for keeping them sealed, so on. And it talks about Andy's party with Freed, Perv, and Woody. So I guess Woody Allen and him, I mean, we all know what Q's alluded to for us in the past with regard to all this. So that's pretty much what we know. And it's talking about how he was pictured with his arm around Virginia's waist after Epstein 66 flew her to London to meet the royal in 2001 when she was 17. Yeah, that's pretty much an interesting point. The article goes on to highlight how Ghislaine Maxwell is a part of this somehow. She was in London on March 13th, obviously one of the people who was with Jeffrey Epstein at the time. And this has been alleged that she was one of the ones who has been procuring for sexual activities individuals. That's what the allegation is of Ghislaine Maxwell, who's the daughter of a disgraced media tycoon, Robert Maxwell, and alleged spy and agent of multiple different foreign intelligence agencies, interestingly enough. But you're seeing it right here. We're getting these stories that are coming out, and Q told us about this a long time ago. I mean, going all the way back. I mean, look, we're going all the way back here to April 6th of 2018, where Q was giving us this picture originally. So we're back in 2018, giving us this picture. It's Ghislaine Maxwell with Virginia Roberts, I guess Virginia, whatever her last name is now, and this individual, Prince Andrew. And this is a photo, obviously, from 2001 that was taken. Look, we're getting all this information, and it's becoming quite apparent. And then Q is telling us to look at back then, look at Rachel Chandler, who's connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Here's one where it's actually Bill Clinton with Rachel Chandler and talking about Epstein's plane and how they're on that together hanging out. Here's another interesting one where Rachel Chandler is younger. I think she says she's 16 at the time this picture was taken with Eminem. So, I mean, you got to think to yourself, what was happening to this poor woman? And is she one of the many who has been exposing the truth about what's going on? And then it gets into her modeling agency, and there's really some disturbing information that has to do with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Jeffrey Epstein portrayed himself to a lot of individuals as being like one of the inside guys at Victoria's Secret for getting models. And apparently this is one of the ways he was able to entice and lure these women and underage girls in to his, networks, his social network. And then he would basically take advantage of, abuse these women. And it was really disturbing back then when we were getting this. But now that we have Epstein arrested, we have indictments coming, we have unsealing of information from original court proceedings with regard to Prince Andrew and his alleged, nefarious time with Virginia Roberts and their connection to Ghislaine Maxwell and the rest. We have a lot of information to go off of. And if the mainstream media would actually just take 2 seconds and look at these facts and start investigating into this further, then maybe we would actually have some sort of, informed citizenry that was not just being brainwashed and propagandized by fake news media, and create the need for individuals to report the news as it, as objectively as possible without trying to spin it. I mean, I don't want to get into this whole this whole thing about, digressing into the mainstream media, but this is something that really upsets me that we have to go up against all the time. And then here's another interesting thing. One of the somebody over on the Anon boards put together this site with this basically, an interesting insight here about this company. Now, Q has asked Anons to dig on Ghislaine Maxwell, Fred, an alleged child recruiter for convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein and his elite friends. And I want to point this out because I thought it was important. It says, her nonprofit organization, the Terramar Project, has just been pulled 13th of July 2019, with the Twitter account suddenly being set to protected. And it says here's an announcement that came from them saying the Terramar Project is sad to announce that it will cease all operations. The website will be closed. Terramar's mission has always been to connect ocean lovers to positive actions, highlight science, and bring conscious change to how people from across the globe can live, work, and enjoy the ocean. So what is really disturbing about this is what's being asked by the person who wrote this article here, saying, does her Terramar Project have some shady connections they don't want us to know about? What they did is a bit elusive. Set up in 2013, Ghislaine Maxwell is the principal officer, apparently dedicated to helping the high seas. Terramar only seems to have one project documented. And then it goes on to talk about how their Facebook page is still private, or still public, with articles posted days before this organization suddenly ceased all activity. Clicking on the post leads you to the site pages, which are now password protected. Some extreme measures to shut down all public access to Terramar's online presence. It says Terramar have also got connections to IMMIDIA, an Uber for the Seas app that allows you to order a yacht, private jet, or car anywhere in the world within 2 hours. Apparently, Terramar helped them launch their billion-pound business, which seems a bit odd for a nonprofit-making company like Terramar. So, you can do the math here and figure it out for yourselves. And then they go ahead and connect this to some symbolism. And it's just another place to go dig, I think. And I thought this was a very fascinating thing. So this Terramar shutting down its connection to this Uber for the sea. I mean, can you imagine that? A service where you can order a yacht, a plane, or a car anywhere in the world in 2 hours. You don't think that's being used for some pretty nefarious stuff, possibly? Sounds like something out of a Bond movie where it's like the Bond Uber service for the Bond villains, I mean, seriously, that's what it sounds like. So you got to look at these stories. And then there's Alan Dershowitz, who's saying that he got a massage on Jeffrey Epstein's mansion, or at his mansion, but he kept his underwear on. So it's all good. So we should definitely trust him. because Virginia Roberts is alleging that not only did Epstein and Prince Andrew abuse her, but also Alan Dershowitz was involved as well. So, yeah. Now there actually are new reports saying that FBI agents have found an expired passport in Jeffrey Epstein's safe. It reportedly listed his residence as Saudi Arabia and was not under his name. That's another interesting story. So it just continues to get more and more fascinating the more we go on with this. But here it is, Peter Thiel coming out and saying the FBI and the CIA must investigate treasonous Google, and this refers to Google's, investment in China and their work with the Chinese military, which I believe this is 100% right on. We need to do it. Internal documents reveal here the polling. This is great. You got to look at these numbers. 74% of voters recognize Ocasio-Cortez, with 22% who approve of her. 53% know who Omar is. 9% approve her. And 69% view understand what socialism is, and 69% of Democrats view socialism unfavorably, I should say. And it's just, you look at the numbers and they don't support these wild radicals. And speaking of these people, we're going to go ahead and watch this video of President Trump. So I hope you guys enjoy.
Well, I didn't mention names, and I didn't do that, but I will tell you, with our country, and I think everybody in this audience, these are great manufacturers, great workers in our audience too. They brought a lot of their workers here. If you're not happy here, then you can leave. As far as I'm concerned, if you hate our country, if you're not happy here, you can leave. And that's what I say all the time. That's what I said in a tweet, which I guess some people think is controversial. A lot of people love it, by the way. A lot of people love it. But if you're not happy in the U.S., if you're complaining all the time, very simply, you can leave. You can leave right now. Come back if you want. Don't come back. It's okay too. But if you're not happy, you can leave. Well, that's just a very racist statement, somebody that would say that. So Speaker Pelosi said, "Make America white again." Let me tell you, that's a very racist statement. I'm surprised she'd say that. John, go ahead. Well, they're very unhappy. I'm watching them. All they do is complain. So all I'm saying is, if they want to leave, they can leave, John. They can leave. I mean, I look at Omar. I don't know. I never met her. I hear the way she talks about Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda has killed many Americans. She said, you can hold your chest out. You can, when I think of America, when I think of Al-Qaeda, I can hold my chest out. When she talked about the World Trade Center being knocked down, some people, you remember the famous some people. These are people that, in my opinion, hate our country. Now, you can say what you want, but get a list of all of the statements they've made. And all I'm saying that if they're not happy here, they can leave. They can leave, and you know what? I'm sure that there'll be many people that won't miss them. But they have to love our country. They're Congress people, and I never used any names. But these are people, quiet. These are people that if they don't like it here, they can leave. And I don't know who's going to miss them, but I guess some people will. One of them is polling at 8%. One of them is polling at 8%. So when I hear people speaking about how wonderful Al-Qaeda is, when I hear people talking about some people with the World Trade Center, some people, no, not some people, much more than some people. When I hear the statements that they've made, and in one case you have somebody that comes from Somalia, which is a failed government, a failed state, who left Somalia, who ultimately came here, and now is a congresswoman who's never happy, says horrible things about Israel, hates Jews. It's very simple. And if the Democrats want to wrap their bows around this group of 4 people, one of them kept Amazon out of New York, tens of thousands of jobs. Would have been a great thing. And she kept Amazon from going. Would have been a good deal. I mean, could he have made better? Maybe. But tens of thousands of jobs. And New York has not been the same since that happened. It's really hurt New York and New York City. Amazon was going to go. They were going to relocate a major section of their business in New York. She kept them out. That was a terrible thing she did. A terrible thing she did. So here's the story. Here's the story. I see them complaining. They're complaining constantly. I watched Lindsey Graham today on Fox and Friends talking about the same subject, and frankly, even stronger than what I'm saying. He said they're communists. I'm saying that they're socialists, definitely. As to whether or not they're communists, I would think they might be, but this isn't what our country is about. Nevertheless, they're free to leave if they want, and if they want to leave, that's fine, and if they want to stay, that's fine, but the people have to know, and politicians can't be afraid to take them on. A politician that hears somebody where we're at war with Al-Qaeda and sees somebody talking about how great Al-Qaeda is, pick out her statement, that was Omar, how great Al-Qaeda is. When you hear that, and we're losing great soldiers to Al-Qaeda, when you see the World Trade Center gets knocked down, and you see the statements made about the World Trade Center, all the death and destruction, I'll tell you what, I'm not happy with them. And it's very easy to be say, oh, gee, well, it's okay. If weak politicians want to say, and the Democrats in this case, if they want to gear their wagons around these four people, I think they're going to have a very tough election, because I don't think the people of the United States will stand for it. John, go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Let me see if I can sum up sort of what people are talking
Go ahead.
about. Does it concern you that that tweet was seen as racist? Lindsey Graham said, encouraged you to aim higher, and does it trouble you?
No, he didn't say about that. He just said, don't go. See, I disagree with Lindsey. These are congressmen. What am I supposed to do? Just wait for senators? No. These are four. So I disagree with Lindsey on that. That was the only thing. He said, aim higher, shoot higher. What am I going to do? Wait till we get somebody else in a higher position, a higher office? These are people that hate our country. Hey, John, they hate our country. They hate it, I think, with a passion. Now, it's possible I'm wrong. The voter will decide. But when I hear the way they talk about our country, when I hear the anti-Semitic language they use, when I hear the hatred they have for Israel, and the love they have for enemies like Al-Qaeda, then you know what? I will tell you that I do not believe this is good for the Democrat Party. Certainly, it's not the party that I've known over the years.
Citizens, Mr. President, where should they? Mr. President, where should they?
Mr. President, does it concern you that many people saw that tweet as racist, and that white nationalist groups are finding common cause with you on that point?
It doesn't concern me because many people agree with me, and all I'm saying, they want to leave, they can leave. Now, it doesn't say leave forever. It says leave if you want. But what it says, John, what that says is, if they're not happy with the United States, if they're doing nothing but criticizing us all the time, you see these people walking down criticizing the United States, we just hit the highest stock market in history. All of these incredible manufacturers that are in, these are great business people, they employ many people, and we have workers with us too. They're having the best year they've ever had. Can I say that? Is that a correct statement? So, and they're hiring more people than they've ever had, and more people are making a good living than they've ever had. We just hit 27,000 plus on the Dow. It's the highest the stock market has ever been. And you have to go by the election, because the market started going up the day after I won. You know, they like to add all of that tremendous gain. They like to try and give it to Obama. The fact is, if I would have lost, the stock market would crash. And if these people that I watch in those debates ever got their hands on the United States government, 401ks, the values of your company, everything else that we talk about we're so proud of, it's down the tubes. People will lose their money, they'll lose their wealth, you'll have a crash like you've never seen before, and I'm really good at this stuff. I know what I'm talking about. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Where should they go, Mr. President?
So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I want to say thanks for watching. A few more things before we go. If you want, please come here, hit the subscribe button. That helps the channel out big time. Also, hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see more. Share these videos on your social media, including this one you're watching here. Just go down the bottom. There's a share button. And you can share it on all your different social media platforms. Also, don't forget to leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to think about everything that we've talked about here on this video. So before we go, a couple of the ways you can help out. If you're going to be in Miami, October 10th through 12th, 2019, and you want to come to an amazing event, it's the American Priority Conference. There'll be a link. You can get tickets below. There's going to be a golf tournament. If you guys are into golf, please go sign up for the golf tournament. And also make sure you sign up for, there's a poker tournament. It's all for charity. Then we're going to have great speakers like you saw there. We have Sarah Sanders, Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, Robert Davi. There's going to be a golf tournament. There's going to be a whole bunch of other people there, a bunch of patriots who love this country. And I encourage everyone to go check this out. Link in the description. So with that, also, you can come find me over here on Twitter at JustInformU, at JustInform, the letter U. Come here, give me a follow. We can have a conversation. That's a cool place. Also, don't forget to come over here and check me out at justinformnews.com, the official website for Just Inform Talk. Links to the Q stuff, different news articles, breaking news, and of course, the latest videos from the channel here. That's a cool way. Also, there's a couple other ways you can help out financially. Patreon, patreon.com. It's a crowdfunding website. You come here, click this button to become a patron, and set it and forget it. It's a monthly donation. Now you're helping create content on this channel. You guys are what keep this channel alive. So thank you for your support. Also, I have a GoFundMe set up. If you will make a one-time or anonymous donation, you guys are what keep this channel alive, to where I never have to worry about anything with YouTube and the way they do their business as far as everything goes. You're what keep this channel alive. So thank you so much for your support. Before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. For today, I want to share a piece of scripture with you. It's out of the book of Titus. It's chapter 2, verse 11 through 15. And it talks about the grace of God. And I want to share it with you. It says, "For the grace of God has appeared with salvation for all people, instructing us to deny godlessness and worldly lusts, and to live in a sensible, righteous, and godly way in the present age, while we wait for the blessed hope and the appearing of the glory of our great God and Savior, Jesus Christ. He gave himself to cleanse for himself a special people, eager to do good works. Say these things and encourage and rebuke with all authority. Let no one disregard you." So a few things about that I just wanted to share with you guys real quick. And hopefully you can maybe share this with your friends and family and loved ones and remind them about how God's grace was given to us so that we may have eternal salvation. And as it says here, that when Jesus died on the cross for our sins, he was actually working to cleanse for himself a special people, eager to do good works. And I just also want to point out that we're encouraged to live a sensible, righteous, and godly life in the present age, which is where we are. So if you remember those things and you let those things drive your life and lead you, you will receive all of the blessings of God, and you will be given the strength and courage and wisdom to go out into the world and to spread that message further. Because the message and the gift that God gives us is not just for ourselves. It's for the entire world, as we are called to share that with others. And that's my call to you guys. So I want to say thank you guys again for watching this episode. Again, if you haven't, come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and hit the bell, or hit it, punch it, smash it, dab it, knee it, hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.